Welcome back, everyone, and I hope you all had a wonderful week. My name is Jaylisa, and today I'm going to share with you my story and my career path as a scientist in chemistry. This video is going to be a part of a series of videos that we're going to upload for you guys, in which we're not only going to share our own stories, but also the stories of other scientists across the United States. And the purpose of these videos is mainly to give you guys some real-life examples, resources, and tools that you can use to develop your own career. So throughout this video, I'm going to try to give you guys some useful tips to develop your own career as a scientist. If you're interested, go get your coffee, get comfortable, and keep on watching. All right, so I'm going to start with a little bit of my background so that you guys get to know me a little bit better. I grew up in Puerto Rico, which is an island in the Caribbean. We are very happy, friendly people, and our mother language is Spanish. So yeah, my first language is Spanish. I grew up in a low-income family and I went to public school my whole life. I've always been interested in science, but it wasn't really until high school when I discovered my true passion for chemistry. When I took my first chemistry class in high school, I was just immensely fascinated by all the possible applications chemistry was useful for in just explaining normal daily processes to very complicated medicinal applications. So I was very fascinated by it, and I made it pretty much a hobby of mine to study for that class without noticing. So after I graduated high school, I had enjoyed chemistry so much that I decided to pursue a bachelor's degree at the University of Puerto Rico in Cayey in natural science with a concentration in chemistry. So to pay for college, as a freshman, I joined the cheerleading squad of my university, and because I became an athlete, I received a full scholarship to pay for my tuition. And I guess additional to that, I also became a chemistry tutor at the Center for Student Support in my university, and I received a little bit of extra that helped me along with my student budget. So yeah, even though none of these activities, maybe a little bit tutoring, but cheerleading wasn't very, part of my academic classes, it was very helpful for me to learn some basic discipline, organization, and leadership skills that I later on went on and using for to develop my graduate school application. So it was very, very a useful opportunity, not only to pay for college, but also to learn very important skills and also to learn a lot about myself. During tutoring, I was also able to learn that I loved teaching science, and even though I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after I graduated my bachelor's degree, I was certain that I wanted to do something related to teaching science. So yeah, these things were very helpful to get to know myself and get to know some of the things that I wanted to keep on doing after I graduated from my bachelor's degree. And on my career. Plus, it was a very good way to release some stress from classes because, as you may already know, college is a very stressful but fun time of our lives. And it's very, very important for us to find ways to release that stress and sort of like rewind and come back to our zero relaxed state. So I find that cheerleading and tutoring were those things for me, and they were very, very helpful. After I took my first 2 laboratory courses, I was just like super amazed and super interested in research and how we could just answer all of these interesting scientific questions with experiments, and how we could, come up with protocols to answer specific questions. So after I finished my second year, I decided to go and talk to my organic chemistry professor and ask her if I could become an undergraduate research assistant in her lab. And yeah, she said yes, and I was very happy, and I went on and worked for her for the remaining 3 years of my college years. So in her lab, I worked characterizing some medicinal compounds from plant roots, and I was able to learn not just more organic chemistry and just basic chemistry applications, but also basic skills for research, like reading scientific literature, developing my own experiment protocols, and just being an independent researcher. So it was a very interesting experience, but after my first semester working in the laboratory, I thought I wanted to experience a little bit more and see other applications of chemistry, or just explore more questions that I could answer. So yeah, for this, I decided to go into an interview at my school, the University of Puerto Rico in Cayenne. We have a program called RISE, and this program is very useful because it brings different schools from the United States to our home university, and they interview students to come to their schools as research undergraduate research assistants on summer internships. So I decided to do that, and I went on to one of these interviews and got accepted as an undergraduate research assistant at Penn State University for the physics department. And even though I wasn't a physics major, I was interested in just learning what were some of the applications of chemistry in more physical research questions. So I went on to Penn State, and there I had the most wonderful experience. It was a little bit scary in the beginning because, as I said before, we speak Spanish in Puerto Rico. So going to Penn State for the first time was my first sort of like survival English practice, because I just couldn't speak Spanish to anyone. So to survive, I had to speak English. And it was very interesting. It was a very challenging, interesting experience. I learned a lot to be, confident in myself, confident in my English, and also confident in my scientific skills, which is something that it's not very obvious that we need to have, just confidence in ourselves. So at this laboratory, I was able to explore superconducting ferromagnetic nanowires, and then my goal during the summer was to synthesize these nanowires using different metals. And at the end of the summer, I was able to accomplish this. But the most important thing is that I met really great friends and mentors that just helped me realize who am I as a scientist, and also to be a little bit more confident about myself. And I learned a lot about some applications of chemistry in physics. So yeah, after I finished that experience, I went on back home a little bit more confident about myself and about my abilities as a scientist. And I continue on with my on-campus research. And I found that I was a little bit, more independent after that experience outside of Puerto Rico and of my school. But it was still not enough for me. I still think that I wanted to explore a little bit more outside. I wasn't content, I enjoyed my research at Penn State, but it wasn't something that I wanted to continue on doing. So I wanted to do more, and also I felt that I wanted to find the next place that I wanted to go. So I decided to start looking online for different schools that I was interested in, and looking at pictures of the school and of students at the school, and looking out for different departments that I might be interested in, specifically chemistry or chemical biology, things like that, and some of the professors that were at these schools and their research or questions that they are answering. So after I finished that list, Yale University came up as one of my top schools, one of my dream schools, and I really wanted to go there. and explore the place and see if it was a place for me. And because my school didn't bring Yale University to visit us and interview for programs, I decided to go into their page and look up for summer internship programs there, and found that the chemistry department didn't have any summer experience available. But they did have a summer experience for students interested in material science and engineering. So I decided to go ahead and apply for this program. And at this point, I already had 2 letters of recommendations from my 2 previous mentors from Penn State and the University of Puerto Rico. And it was a little bit easier because I had more experience and I also had more references. So I applied to this program online, and I got in, and I was ecstatic when I received my notice that I was accepted at the summer internship program. And so I went on to Yale and started working at the engineering department, studying some surface chemistry to develop a ultra high vacuum methodology that was going to be later used to develop nanotransistors. It was very fun. It was challenging as well, but this time not so much because of my English. What was more challenging of that experience, it was that I was in the engineering department and I was the only girl that I could see in my building. So it was a little bit challenging. I felt, I felt like I was the only one. I didn't know who to talk to. But I was lucky enough that the person in my lab that summer were very, helpful and friendly. And even though I wasn't an expert in engineering, they were very willing to teach me and to, lead me if I was like stuck with something or stuck with some experiments or literature. I remember that at some point we were in like a group meeting, and my mentor then was discussing some stuff that I hadn't really understood because I hadn't took the classes that I needed to understand the topic, and I felt lost. But after the meeting, I was like, hey, I didn't really understand what you were talking about. Could you sit down with me and, explain it to me a little bit more? And he was happy that I mentioned that I wasn't, really sure what they were talking about. And he took his time and sat down with me and taught me, the topics that I wasn't understanding. And I thought that was really inspiring and really showed me what a good mentor was. Somebody that is there, somebody that understands that, you're not a super person and that you have limitations, but if you're willing to learn, he's there for you. So it was a great experience. Through the program, I also met some really amazing people and scientists from, all over and from across various disciplines. And it's people that you meet and you have on your group of people, your community that you need. And this is very important, to have a community of people, of like-minded individuals that you can talk to about anything, about normal life, about yourself, about science. It's very eye-opening, mind-opening, and it's just amazing to know that you have this group of people just as friends and as colleagues. So after this experience, I was already a senior, and I graduated that May after that summer, and I was ready to apply to graduate school. And this is where the fear came in, because as I said, Yale was in my top. It was one of my dream schools, but for some reason, the fear overcame my body and I was still not confident. I thought that I wasn't going to make it. I thought that I was a good student, but I wasn't good enough to get into a school like that. So I was not going to apply, and I wasn't confident in myself, even though I had all of these experiences that made me a strong applicant. I was just not confident that I would get in. So I had my mentors and my parents pretty much convinced me just to apply because I wasn't losing anything. It was just fear overcoming my brain and my body. So after I had a talk with my mentors and my parents, I decided or was convinced to apply. And I did, and I was happy to see that I got in. I was surprised, but I was also happy that I listened to my parents and my mentors because they could definitely see what I wasn't able to see, which was my abilities. And yeah, I think that this is very important for us to know, to be able to recognize ourselves, know ourselves as scientists, and recognize our abilities and just be confident in ourselves, but also prepare for what we want and work for what we want. That's like the most important thing that we need to do in order to achieve our goals as scientists. So I think I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna be making another video where I discuss a little bit more in detail about my experiences and my life as a graduate student at Yale. So if you have any questions, concerns, or ideas for that video, or maybe some other questions that you didn't get answered with this video, please email those questions to the email link down below, and I'll happily answer those for you as fast as I can. So I hope this video was helpful for you to develop your own career as a scientist, and I hope you go ahead and live your own adventures and get to know yourself and what kind of research or what kind of career path you want to take. So we hope to be here to support you and to guide you and to tell you that you can do it, because it's true. Anyone can do this as long as you work for it. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying and watching, and see you next time, because you can do STEM. Bye.